I'm Geoff from GC2 Photo Club, and in this video I'm going to show you how to adjust the white balance in a photo using Lightroom and the Photoshop RAW panel, and also try to explain what white balance is. But first, let's go to the computer. The white balance in a photograph varies depending on the type of lighting at the time of shooting. Different light sources contain different amounts of the colour spectrum. A tungsten light source, such as a traditional light bulb, contains more warm colours such as red and yellow, whereas midday sunlight contains more cold colours such as blue. Different times of the day and different weather conditions also affect how white balance is recorded by our camera. Light is warmer in colour at sunrise and sunset, but colder in colour at noon. Flash tends to be balanced for noon daylight on a clear day, which is slightly blue in most cases. If the sky is cloudy, that will make the colour even colder. Photographs taken in the shade or shadows will be colder still. They will have a very blue cast. Candlelight, on the other hand, will record in a photograph as very warm or red. Most DSLR cameras allow you to set the white balance for the conditions you are shooting under. They also usually have an auto white balance setting, which works well in most situations but can be fooled by mixed light sources. You can also change or correct the white balance in your image in Lightroom or Photoshop Camera Raw. It helps if you shoot the original image in RAW, but you can make changes to JPEGs and other file formats this way, though not to such a great extent, as the camera will already have rendered the white balance for you. White balance has two components in Lightroom or RAW adjustments. They are colour temperature, cold blue through to hot red, which is adjusted by the top slider here, which is measured on the Kelvin scale, as you can see here. The other component is tint, which is adjusted by the bottom slider here, which goes from green through to magenta. Double click to return to where we started. I shot this image on the screen now under tungsten shop lighting, but with my camera white balance set to daylight. As you can see, the image is too warm. To correct the image's white balance in Lightroom, I have three main options. Firstly, I can click on the word As Shot at the top of the panel, and in the pop-up box click on Auto to allow Lightroom to try to correct it for me. As you can see, Lightroom has made a very good job. It usually does, and is a good place to start, as you can now fine-tune the white balance with the sliders here. You can also click on one of the other choices if you know what conditions you shot the image under. In this case, I know it was shot under tungsten lighting, so I can click on tungsten. And once again, you can see that Lightroom has got the balance very neutral. Scroll through the choices to see what effect they have. Like so. The second method to correct white balance in Lightroom is to use the eyedropper tool at the top left of the panel here. You do this by clicking on the eyedropper tool and dragging the icon to an area that you think is neutral grey or white, such as the back cloth in this case. Again, you can see that Lightroom has made it fairly neutral, as I've selected a fairly neutral coloured area. However, the back cloth was a slightly warm colour, so Lightroom has overcompensated, and this image now is slightly cold. The third method to correct white balance is to use the sliders to set the white balance manually, like so. This is my favourite method, as I have full control. Although you can make the white balance neutral, I like to make a subjective choice. In this case, I want the image to be just a touch warm to reflect the fact that it was taken in a cosy little bric-a-brac shop which was warmly lit. In this case, after letting Lightroom set the balance to neutral for me by clicking on Auto here, I moved the slider slightly to the right to a temperature of about 3600 Kelvin. If you know the exact temperature you require, you can type it in the box here. As you can see, I'm typing in 3600, and Lightroom will adjust the colour temperature to the image on your screen accordingly. As you can see, I've now got that slightly warm look that I was looking for. If I change to this JPEG copy I made of this image, you will notice that the numbers representing Kelvin have disappeared. This is because your camera has already rendered the white balance for this image, and although you can make a very good job of adjusting the colours with the sliders, you are not actually changing the white balance in this image. You will also notice that if you click on the word as shot, you still have the auto option, which again works very well, but the others, apart from custom, are no longer available. The eyedropper tool, however, will still work in exactly the same way. I've now changed back to the original RAW image so that we can see what happens if we take it across to the Photoshop RAW panel. You do this by clicking on Photo at the top of your screen here, then click on Edit in Photoshop CC, or whatever version you happen to have of Photoshop. As you can see, it takes a little while to go across, but not too long. Photoshop should recognise it as a RAW file and open it automatically in the RAW filter. However, if you've changed your preferences, such as I have, you will have to open it in RAW by using another method, such as using the keyboard shortcut Shift plus Control plus Alt if you have Photoshop CC. In the Photoshop RAW filter, you will see that you have the sliders for temperature and tint just the same as in Lightroom. You also have the same options if you click on the word Custom. You also have the eyedropper tool, however it is in the top toolbar, the third icon from the left. So the choice is yours what program you prefer to make your adjustments in. Let's return to Lightroom. As I said earlier, I like to set a custom white balance to my own choice, as you don't always want your photos to have a neutral white balance. For instance, if you take a shot of a seascape at sunset and get all those warm red and purple tones in the sky and reflecting in the water, do you really want to balance them out to a neutral grey? Alternatively, do you want to lose that blue cold tone of a ski mountain landscape? As I said, white balance is a subjective choice for me that I like to make using the sliders in Lightroom or in the Photoshop RAW filter. Hope you found that tutorial useful. Please go to our website GC2photoclub.com for more videos and information. I'm Geoff Cable from GC2 Photo Club. Hope to see you again soon.